You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Hello and welcome to episode number
fate,
177 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. Would you believe it? We started on time. It's 7 p.m. on Friday, the 11th of August, and joining me are my two amazing co-hosts, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Oh, well, hello there. Yes, we actually started on time, everyone, which means obviously that at some point during the show something will go horribly wrong. I'm almost guaranteed. But yes, wow.
Honestly, I watched the countdown timer, Matt, and
Yeah.
the minute it went 7 o'clock, the music
All
started.
right, you can stop tempting fate now. Anyway, Nev, do you have anything to say on the matter?
I'm just surprised we have started on time.
Yeah, well, as I say, anything could happen.
There's plenty that can go wrong.
Oh, the chat room's gone mental.
I know, absolutely.
They can't believe it. But everyone's like, oh, this can't be right.
No, indeed.
This must be wrong.
Indeed. Anyway, so let's not spoil it.
No, I know. So welcome to episode number 177 of this show, and a massive welcome to everyone who's joined us in the chat room on YouTube tonight. Loads of names in there to mention. Jeff Braithwaite, we've got Liz Piper's in the chat room, Masha's in the chat room, Philip Davis, we've got Airshow World, our main man Micah, the blue spanner of death, is in there.
Yes.
Mariana, and we've got, let me scroll down, we've got Tony S. Barbara Parish, Jennifer is in the chat room as well.
Ah, the lovely Jen.
I know. And Amir Patel, good evening to you as well.
Very exciting.
It's all very exciting, you know. It's just
started on time.
We started on time and everything. It's just...
Right.
So we've got
a little bit of housekeeping, obviously, because it is 7 p.m. It is the 11th of August, 2017, and yes, it is literally just gone 7 o'clock. I can't believe it.
So we've got loads of stuff to get through in the show. Tons of good news stories, and we've got a brilliant segment again from Nev on the passenger experience, where this week he's talking to Brian Coleman.
Never heard of him.
And we've also got our third interview from the Royal International Air Tattoo at RAF Fairford.
I think that's our penultimate one, isn't it, sadly?
There's
only one more to go.
One more to go, but we've got that to play out as well. We've also got a little bit of feedback from a listener as well, Glen Towler as well.
Absolutely, and also some from Jenny in Rome as well.
As well. Yeah. And so Nev, if you want to start things off with a bit of housekeeping for today.
Oh yes, of course. And the most important thing, this is what keeps the whole thing running, is the Patreon. So thank you very much for your generous contributions. And these are from Adrian Meacham, Captain Jeff, Dr. Steph, Stuart Black, Jeff Newman, Liz Piper, Adam Spink, Matt Donnemeyer, Jeff Ward, Ben Todd, York Moeller, Philip Labe, Captain L, Matthew Bunting Frame, Myla, Ryan Harper, Jenny Parkinson, Stuart Backer and Ray Williams. Thank you very much indeed for your superb contributions.
Yes,
very much.
Thank you very much.
It does keep the things ticking over very, very nicely. So thank you very much for all your financial support. But as I say, if you want to do exactly that, if you'd like to contribute towards the show, then take yourself to www.patreon. That's patreon.com, and $1 is absolutely fine. Anything that you can afford to contribute would be greatly appreciated. As I say, it helps us do all the amazing things that we've been doing by doing outside broadcasts in the middle of air shows and all that. So really, really appreciate it.
And guess what? We have actually got a new T-shirt wearer.
Have we?
Yeah, we've got a new T-shirt wearer. So because our new T-shirt wearer is Jonathan Warner.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he's finally bagged himself a T-shirt.
Right.
So I did have a picture actually. What Jonathan sent me. I should have sent that to you.
You probably
really,
should have done. Yes.
But
there we are. Never mind.
But if you want to,
could have shared it with the world. But never
if you
mind.
want to bag yourself one of our PTUK T-shirts, if you just go over to plaintalkinguk.com and click on store, and there is an amazing picture of Mr. Caton displaying one of our T-shirts, and these are 100% cotton T-shirts with an embroidered front logo and print on the back, and they come in small, medium, large, and extra large.
Ooh.
So grab yourself one of those T-shirts, and I'll post it off to you as quickly as I can.
And I could say that absolutely the quality is superb of those T-shirts. So very good choice of manufacturer there, lads. Very nicely done.
Yes,
We did a bit of research.
We kept the business local.
Yes,
local
yes,
supply.
yeah, just up the
Local
road from
supply.
us. Actually, they're made here in Bungay.
In Bungay, yes.
Nice.
So I suppose we better kick off the show then and
Yeah.
start things as we do each week with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt,
I am.
and if you're ready, Nev,
Yeah, absolutely.
let's go. Kicking off this week's first news story then on the Telegraph Business, and the headline: delayed at Heathrow or Gatwick, this airline will offer you a free flight.
Ooh,
Yes, I did
that's
mean that.
brave.
So Stobart Air
Stobart.
is set to
Stobart.
fly.
Oh
Stobart.
dear, that's, like I say, it's suddenly it's
Bit
the
like
whole
the Qatar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Stobart Air, and for those of you who live in the UK will know that Stobart is a huge haulier of lorry haulier here in the UK, but he's also got his own airline, and they're set to fly up to 1,000 passengers free of charge to 3 UK cities as part of an offer by Southend Airport if passengers can show that they were delayed at Heathrow or Gatwick. The airline's parent company, Stobart Aviation, which owns the Essex Airport, recently took on 2 aircraft from rival Flybe under a 20-month lease and is now putting these to use as part of this deal. Free return tickets are being offered to Manchester, Glasgow and Dublin. Oh, there we go, Matt. That's one for you.
Right.
To passengers who've suffered delay of 30 minutes or more to one of those destinations from rival airports, Heathrow and Gatwick. So from August the 14th, Southend Airport are going to give the free tickets to the first 1,000 passengers who contact them with proof of their delay, with travellers able to take flights from October the 29th. The offer comes as data from the Civil Aviation Authority showed in the first 5 months of 2017, more than 11 million passengers were delayed travelling from Heathrow and Gatwick. Southend sees 1.2 million passengers through its doors each year, but has the capacity to accommodate 10 million. Airport passengers are particularly badly hit in recent months, with BA's system meltdown during the May bank holiday, grounding tens of thousands of travellers. A problem with the airline's check-in system earlier this month also caused delays. Glyn Jones, chief executive of Stobart Aviation, said that while rival airports Heathrow and Gatwick kept celebrating rising passenger numbers, this made for a bad travel experience for tens of thousands of passengers every day. Now, the offer is going to run until September the 30th. So there we go. So for anyone who's in the UK who's flown out of Gatwick or Heathrow with Flybe, you're going to be able to get yourself a free flight. I mean, that's pretty much unheard of. I wonder whether you're there's any fees at all in the free flight.
Don't know.
Or whether that includes your bag. I suppose it would include your bag.
It might do. Yeah.
But London Southend Airport is not an airport I've flown from, but it's supposed to be quite a nice airport to go through. Never, I'd take it you've never been, or?
No, I haven't, and it's used for diversions quite a lot because London City Airport has got a curfew. I think there's a landing end time where you can't land after a certain time, and when that happens, they stick them into Southend. But actually, Southend on its own has been a very good charter flight airport by the sounds of things. Not so much for scheduled, but certainly good holiday airport.
Yeah, it's not one I've ever tried personally, so it's a funny one. I think EasyJet are doing a lot of flights out of Southend, aren't they?
Flybe, I know Flybe do.
Yeah.
They fly out there with the Dash 8 Q400.
Yeah.
because you can hear them about 20 miles away from here flying over because they're so noisy. But no, it's supposed to. I mean, Southend. How far is that from us, Matt? That's not hugely far from here, is it? I don't think.
It's further than you think.
Yeah?
It is further than you think. It's sort of what I call the London end of Essex. So,
but is London Southend Airport?
Well, of course it is. Absolutely. In the same way that it's London Luton.
It'll be London Norwich next.
Yes, we live in hope.
Yes,
Yeah, we live in hope. Yeah,
London Norwich Airport.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next story, Matt. This one is this is a bit of a worrying one, I do believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of this story, really, and I'm always very sceptical about anything that appears in the Daily Mail. I know you said you'd seen it on a couple of other newswires.
Yeah, this has been on
but,
quite a few of the big channels. Yeah.
But I hope this isn't true. Anyway, so the story I'm taking this from is on the Mail Online, obviously, which is a quality newspaper. Not. Ryanair threatens stewards who don't hit sales targets by flogging enough extra products to passengers. So Ryanair is threatening to punish cabin crew if they fail to flog enough products to passengers during flights, it has been reported. A company memo is believed to have said that staff must sell every day 1 perfume, 1 meal deal and 1 item of fresh food and 8 scratch cards per crew member. Not reaching their targets daily will be met with by their sorry, that's really bad English. Not reaching their targets daily will be met with by their supervisor and further action taken, it read, adding that the sale will be closely monitored. A further notice sent to staff in Barcelona said to have the worst sales record, said that underperforming staff will be moved, the Mirror reported. So there's the Daily Mail reporting on something that the Mirror wrote. Great. One employee told the website that they are worried about the situation, saying cabin crew staff are always afraid and that they will be demoted. When you are at the bottom of the monthly sales chart, you receive a letter asking you to improve your performance or they will reconsider your position. But Ryanair, which announced annual profits of £1.1 billion, said that there is no pressure on crew. Crew are incentivized to sell ancillary products on board and are rewarded with sales bonuses. So I'm not sure really what to make about this story. I mean,
Tony makes a good point in the chat room.
Yeah,
they're there for safety, not to sell.
Yeah, this is
rubbish.
Well, we know somebody, don't we, Owen, who works for a very similar airline to Ryanair, and from what he was saying the other day, they are under quite a lot of pressure to sell stuff on board.
I mean, some of these flights aren't hugely long, you know, and they have got a job to do. But if you're trying to push perfume and watches and scratch cards in people's faces,
I guess all these people have contracts that have been beautifully tied up beautifully, but it must be fairly difficult to if your role there is as cabin crew and it's recognised as a reason to ensure that safety is paramount type thing. But all the I would argue perhaps it's very difficult to dismiss someone based on poor sales unless they are employed as salesmen. I don't know. It's a subject matter that I don't think any of us.
This story is just really annoyed me because I mean all the flights I've been on, and a lot of them have been with Ryanair, and I can honestly count the amount of people that I've seen buy perfume and stuff on them flights on one hand, and I'd still have fingers left.
Oh, so one person actually did hit their targets then?
Yeah. I've never seen years ago. If you go back to the days of old when they used to have airlines like British Caledonian and Britannia and the old school British Island Airways and the old airlines and stuff. Duty free was a big thing back then, and as soon as the cart came down the aisle, everyone was buying perfume, cigarettes, cigars, and toys and models and stuff like that.
But then, to be fair, when I've been sort of wandering round and things, I've quite often noticed that actually the products that you're buying on the Ryanair, if you are after perfume and things like that, all jokes aside, it's so much cheaper even than the airport's own duty free. Certain products like sort of the aftershave. I mean, I've quite often bought aftershave actually on the aeroplane because it's a lot cheaper on the aeroplane than it is even in that own airport's duty free. So I don't know. It's just a shame. But if it's a really short flight, you've only got 40 minutes to do a meal service and all that kind of thing. I mean, I suppose you could argue in most cases perhaps that they're doing, probably at least 2, if not 4 sectors a day. So, hopefully you're going to sell at least one meal deal to someone. What have you found?
Mariana in the chat room has said that if Owen was selling items, all the ladies would buy at least one item.
Well, that is true. That is true. Of course, it helps if you're yeah, indeed. Yes.
Oh, very true. Very true.
Indeed, yes.
Actually, Liz has said that she read a big article recently about the sales targets on cruise ships with big pressure to sell. So.
Oh, we see now Liz is being very PC here. She's because I think some of the lads would be happy to buy from Owen too. Now. That's very diverse. Well done, everyone.
Well done, everyone. So moving on to the next story, Nev, just for you.
It's the third story, so it must be a BA story, and it is. And
there's a
this
shot.
is from travelweekly.com, and it says that the world's largest commercial passenger aircraft will fly for the first time regularly out of Chicago O'Hare beginning next May. British Airways will use an Airbus A380 for one daily flight between Chicago and London Heathrow, and the A380 will replace a Boeing 747 on that flight, thereby expanding the capacity by 20%. The aircraft seats up to 469 passengers, divided between first class, business class, premium economy and coach. The British Airways guys will continue to use a 747 on the other daily trip between O'Hare and Heathrow. British Airways joint venture partner American Airlines also flies that route 4 times daily. And other US airports that have the 380 service are Kennedy, Boston, Washington, Dulles, Atlanta, Miami, Houston, George Bush,
Houston, that was very Norfolk,
and Los Angeles and San Francisco. But that's all very interesting. I wonder what routes they have stolen it from, because they've not taken any new deliveries of any other 380s, as far as I'm aware. So that's been pulled off another route from somewhere. I wonder which
is
one.
Is that an airport you've flown into, Nev? Chicago O'Hare?
It is, yes. It is. Very chaotic, I have to say, but considering such a huge airport, it's pretty well organised, I've got to say. No, it's all about really maximising the capacity, because obviously that's a very popular route, I would imagine, so that they could probably fill those seats without too much trouble.
I saw some pictures online earlier this week of BA's business class suites and that on the 380, and they do look really nice, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's good news. Good news to see that.
Yeah. Indeed. So the next story is on the New York Post, nypost.com, and this is a rather interesting story, I must say. The headline: Boeing wants to fly their planes like geese to save fuel.
What, like in a pack?
Yeah. So
what?
Boeing is looking to their partners in flight to attempt to save on fuel. Flying planes in the same V formation that geese use when they migrate has the potential to save between 10 and 15% on fuel bills. The technique, known as wake surfing, uses energy from the lead plane to give the trailing planes extra lift, allowing them to use less fuel. Think of a car drafting a truck, or one bike rider drafting another, Mike Sinnett's Boeing Vice President for Product Development told Bloomberg. It essentially allows you if you are flying in the right spot to reduce your fuel burn, but you've got to be there for a long time. For most airlines, the cost of fuel is their biggest or second biggest expense. Boeing has been studying the wake surfing in an effort to save money and increase efficiency without the high costs of new technology or cockpit overhauls. The Chicago-based company has also been researching the effectiveness of glider-like wings placed beneath the plane to help burn less fuel. Since the company hasn't completed the study, they can't estimate the exact amount of savings the wake surfing could provide, but two previous studies, one involving a Boeing C-17 military transport aircraft and another that used F-18 fighters, showed the savings to fall between 10 and 15%. We have the technology today, Kurt Hansen, a senior flight controls researcher at NASA, told Bloomberg. This will be interesting to see. You'd have to sort of tie in all the flights at the same time. We've got 4 planes going to the States. You've got to fly in a V formation.
If this story is true, and I'll be honest with you, I do wonder if this story is true, there are just so many variables that could go wrong in something like that. You know,
a bit of weather, for example.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like a bit of weather to spice things up, is there? Right?
I was kind of thinking about the whole wake turbulence thing. You know,
but this is it. This is the bizarre thing, isn't it?
If you're in a 737 trailing an A380, that might be a bit of a bumpy ride, I think.
Well, this is true. In fact, actually, what I was talking about Boeing, I noticed on the old Twitter feed here, we've got several people who follow us who have also been looking at the Boeing airplanes Twitter page. It's at 1500 and counting, celebrating the most popular twin-aisle aeroplane of all time, the Boeing 777. Indeed. I was trying to bring the video up, but I ran out of time. So.
Mike has said that, do you know that when you see a flight of geese, there are always one side of the V that's longer than the other?
Oh, really?
And I don't know why.
No, okay. Well, there we are. It's I mean, it is flight of sorts. It's maybe not, aviation per se, but...
So moving on to the next story. It's another low-cost carrier story for you, Matt.
Indeed, yes. This is on the Independent website, and the headline is EasyJet to release album of engine... Well, really? Oh, no. EasyJet to release album of engine sounds to help people get to sleep.
I love this story. Carry on, Matt.
I don't know if I want to. Right, okay. So
this is real as well.
And this is on the Independent, so it's not like, the Daily Mash or something.
This is actually true, Matt. And
is it available on iTunes, is it?
Amazon.
What? Oh, no. You're having a giraffe.
And I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, you are and all. You're that sad. Airline will donate proceeds to children's sleep charity. Budget airline EasyJet has announced plans to move into the music industry with the release of a single and album comprised entirely of engine noise. Jet Sounds will be available to buy tomorrow, and the company say they hope listening to tracks will help people get to sleep. Experts believe that listening to white noise could have sleep-inducing effects. Recent research has found that the monotonous hum allows the brain to block out sleep interruptions by displacing background noise and muffling sounds such as traffic, snoring and barking dogs, which can cause people to wake up. Recordings of white noise have also been used to calm babies and help people focus when studying. Recent research by the Sleep Council revealed that 22% of adults in the UK sleep badly every night. Sleep expert Dr. Sandra L. Wheatley consulted on production of the record. She said the soft, repetitive ambient drone of white noise can drown out sounds, gently settle the brain and aid on the first onset of sleep. There is also strong evidence that it can dampen out disruptive noises that can disturb our slumber. The low throb of a powerful jet engine is this sounds like a porn movie. What's going on here? Hello. What have you got up in front of you there, sir? What's that there?
It says, "Kill me now, or I'll do it myself."
Okay, right, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, well played. Yes, I'm not going to carry on reading that story. That is just bizarre. I mean, you're buying it probably for very different reasons to everyone else. Now, there is actually a sample. I'm going to see if I can get this sample to play. So, apologies if it doesn't work, but there we go. There we go.
Oh yes, that's one of my favourites. That one.
Yeah, is it? Yes. Here we go. Yeah, it's there we go. Look, it's even got a video look to it. There we go. Look, winning.
That's the Neo as well. That's the Neo.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm literally pulling the air out on this. What is it really? Do you think it's going to work though? I mean, seriously.
And these are on Amazon. I will say
they are on Amazon now.
You can go on Amazon and buy from the album Jet Sounds.
I'd be interested to see, bearing in mind how YouTube works with its copyright recognition and stuff, I wonder how it would specifically identify this noise as an album belonging to someone else. I don't know how that would work.
I've got my Christmas present sorted out now. So.
Well, this is true, yeah. Oh, no, Nev, that's what I was going to get you. Oh, you're just no fun, are you? That's it. Yeah. Oh, hello. Carlos is nodded off. That's just because I'm talking, though. It's got nothing to do with the album.
No, that you can actually go on Amazon and buy that. It's just it's bizarre. It is honestly bizarre.
I can see why that you know, because actually it's like I have the television on when I go to sleep because like just putting on something innately in the background helps you to sort of. It just helps me to nod off in the same way like people put the radio on, don't they, when they go to sleep and stuff. But I don't know. But you see, I can never fall asleep on an aeroplane, so it don't work for me.
I mean, Liz Piper said that's going to be a top 10 hit. So I mean,
is it?
Watch this space. Hello, Owen. Owen's joined us in the chat. Hello, Owen. Hello.
Well,
so moving on.
Yeah, he's probably asleep now because he's been listening to the.
Wake up, Nev. Yeah. So moving on to the next story, Nev. This one's for you.
I think this is the first serious story we've had tonight.
What? What? That's it. I quit.
This is from the NASDAQ website, and it says that Boeing secures 12 737 MAX jets orders from Air Lease. And they finalised orders for these, although details of the contract have not been revealed. The order was announced during the Paris Air Show, and the deal comprises an order for 5 737 MAX 7s and 737 MAX 8s. It also includes 2 new orders for the 787-9 Dreamliner. Notably, with this order, Los Angeles, California-based Air Lease Corporation's total MAX orders reaches 130, and the Dreamliner order reaches 49. As a member of the next generation 737 family, the 737-800 continues to be an extremely popular single-aisle aircraft. This is because of the advanced technology and low operation as well as maintenance costs. The new 737s will feature the new Boeing Sky interior, the 787 Dreamliner-inspired cabin that provides passengers a sense of space with decorative sidewalls, larger windows, LED mood lighting, and larger pivot overhead stowage bins. Demand for the Boeing's commercial airplanes has been rising owing to a steady increase in passenger and freight traffic. This has been more strongly reflected in recent times, with the aerospace behemoth successfully winning a huge number of commercial contracts at the Paris Air Show. In addition to the aforementioned deal, other notable contracts secured by Boeing at the air show include a commitment from the Kuwaiti-based Alafco Aviation Lease and Finance Company for 20 737 MAX 8s valued at $2.2 billion. And moreover, Lion Group is committed to buying 50 737 MAX 10 jets from the company for $6.24 million. And although also Boeing signed a memorandum of understanding with SpiceJet for 40 737 MAX airplanes worth $4.7 billion. And another memorandum of understanding worth $2.5 billion was signed with Tibet Financial Leasing for 20 737 MAX airplanes. Again, the company signed a memorandum of understanding with BOC Aviation Limited for 10 737 MAX 10s worth nearly $1.2 billion. Apart from this, Boeing clinched an order from AerCap for 30 787-9 Dreamliners worth $8.1 billion. And given the huge commercial demand, this aerospace behemoth is expected to witness significant traction in the near term, especially in the single-aisle market. And it seems that they are really going for it this time. And Boeing anticipates demand for 29,530 single-aisle jets worth £3.2 trillion in the next 20 years. This projected figure reflects a 5% increase over last year's projection. Moreover, the company expects single-aisle jets to be the major driver of demand growth, comprising 72% of the total commercial jet demand projection. Whilst the new 737 MAX and the 737-800 is likely to grab the lion's share of the new orders, Boeing's arch rival Airbus Group's 320neo is expected to pose significant challenges. And nevertheless, Boeing's 737 model remains one of the best-selling aeroplanes in the single-aisle market, thanks to its fuel efficiency and passenger comfort. Therefore, to maintain its dominance in the aerospace market, the company continues to invest in research and development for upgrading and churning out upgraded versions of this existing planes. So they seem to be doing very well with it, don't they? And but they need to, because obviously Airbus is always catching up with them, and there's been a lot of Airbus orders recently. So no, it sounds like they've done very well, doesn't it?
I was looking up, actually. I was just going to see who this Air Lease Corporation is. And their CEO, Nev, is someone you might have heard of, Stephen Udvar-Hazy. Oh,
as in the place that one might go to in the Washington area.
That's right, yeah. Yes. The Air Lease Corporation was founded in 2010 by Stephen Udvar-Hazy, and they've got quite a nice little fleet of aircraft, but it does prove a point, though, that the aircraft don't just get sold to airlines; they get sold to large leasing corporations that then lease the aircraft to the airlines. So it does. Sometimes it works out a lot cheaper for airlines to lease aircraft than buy them outright brand new.
Yeah, indeed.
So moving on to the next story, and this one is on the BBC News website. And
dear old auntie.
Yeah, bit of an interesting story, this. This is a find that I wouldn't have mind making myself.
I bet, yeah.
So the headline then is World War II Mosquito Aircraft Blueprints Found at Airbus Factory. So more than 20,000 technical drawings of a World War II aircraft have been found at a factory in Flintshire, or Flintshire, however you want to say it. Blueprints,
I know.
Blueprints of the Mosquito were thought to have been lost, but were discovered by Airbus in an office it was closing down in Broughton. The twin-engine bomber was one of the most versatile Royal Air Force aircraft to serve during the war. The find has boosted plans by a group, the People's Mosquito Project, to rebuild the bomber. Bill Ramsey, the project operations director who served in the RAF for 41 years, said the drawings weighed 67 kilos in total and were going to be thrown into a skip. It's actually probably unique in the world. It's a complete collection of all the drawings for every mark and modification that was ever made to the Mosquito, he told BBC Wales and the Good Morning Wales programme. You could actually build any form of Mosquito, including one that never actually flew, he said. And he also said that it would cost around £7 million to rebuild one of the aircraft, which was largely made from plywood and balsa with the aid of the plans. It sounds like a lot of money, but what the drawings do is that they are important historically because they're unique a document and they have certain commercial values to us, he said. Technically, it means that for some of the pieces of the airplane, the slightly more obscure ones, the Civil Aviation Authority will let us use these drawings to remanufacture them. He added that there was nostalgia for all things old, and that the rebuilding of the Mosquito capable of flying would be make lots of people incredibly happy, which is very true. I mean, what an amazing find to make, especially for something that was going to be binned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plans of the Mosquito, because that was, it's one of those aircraft that, wasn't talked about a huge amount in this kind of films and stuff, but played a very, very big role in the World War II. Yeah. So, Nev, what do you reckon about that one?
That's superb, isn't it? Really, really nice, and so unusual to have a good news story like that, isn't it? But that's a fantastic find for artifacts for people to look at in the future, isn't it?
I wonder what's going to be next, and what they're going to find next somewhere.
That's
in a shoebox somewhere in the world. So moving on to the next story, Matt.
Business Insider is the headline. It's in the finance department, and the headline is Delta's replacement for the jumbo jet has finally arrived. So on Sunday, Delta Airlines took delivery of its very first next-generation Airbus A350-900 airliner. Delta's first A350 arrived at its base in Atlanta just after 2 a.m. on Sunday, following a delivery flight from Airbus headquarters in Toulouse, France. Never heard of it. Upon arrival, the plane was greeted by a ceremonial water cannon, not foam then, that's refreshing, salute before pulling up at the gate. The new wide-body jet is one of the 25 A350s Delta ordered back in 2014 and is the first of five that Airbus will deliver to the airline this year. In May, Delta announced that it is deferring delivery of 10 A350s by at least 2 to 3 years. The Airbus A350 entered service in early 2015 with Qatar Qatar Airways, Qatar, and is now in operation with roughly a dozen airlines around the world. However, Delta will be the aircraft's first operator in North America. With room for 306 passengers, Delta's A350s are expected to take over many of its trans-Pacific routes, currently operated by its ageing fleet of 747-400 jumbo jets. Delta's fleet of 747s, which were inherited from Northwest Airlines following their 2008 merger, has been in service an average of 26 years and is set to be retired at the end of the year. The A350-900 is powered by a pair of Rolls-Royce Trent XWB turbofan engines, which each producing 84,000 pounds of thrust. The aircraft is optimised for efficient long-haul flying and boasts a range of up to 8,000 miles. Inside, the jet will have room for 32 private Delta One suites, 48 new Delta Premium Economy seats, and 226 main cabin seats. All cabins will have Wi-Fi connectivity, USB charging, and personal in-flight entertainment. In addition, the A350's carbon fibre reinforced plastic fuselage allows the cabin to be pressurised to mimic conditions at 6,000 feet of altitude, allowing for a more comfortable ride. Over the next couple of months, Delta will prepare the A350s for its inaugural commercial flight from Detroit to Tokyo Narita International Airport on the 30th of October.
Now, Nev, what do you think? These pictures on here on the Business Insider website, the Delta One suites they have on here, I think they look quite smart, and they've also got those the doors which you can actually shut to sort of, to segregate yourself from the rest of the aircraft. What do you think, Nev?
Yeah, I like the sound of that very much indeed. That's always isolating myself from other passengers on the plane. I just like my own space and that kind of stuff. So, no, it's a great idea. Really good.
The seats look quite nice. They look quite
the whole
leathery.
thing looks thoroughly comfortable,
yes.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It's almost like a kind of Focus ST-ish kind of seat, I think.
Oh, okay, yes. I see.
Okay.
So see where you're going there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Very posh. Very posh.
Very on brand. Well done.
So moving on to the next story then, Nev.
It's on the travelandleisure.com website, and it says America's worst airport is getting a major upgrade. And frankly, it needed it, because I've flown through LaGuardia a lot not recently, I have to say, but in the past, and it was a bit of a hole, I have to say.
Right, it was a traumatic experience.
And there's a bit of a picture here. It says, no, the image you see above is not a scene from a futuristic sci-fi summer blockbuster. It's a rendering of a pedestrian bridge inside New York City's LaGuardia Airport after the $8 billion renovation that's expected to be completed by 2021, with the first new gates scheduled to open next year. Located in the borough of Queens, LaGuardia is the smallest airport in the city and the closest one to Manhattan, making it a preferred hub for business travellers. It first opened in 1939 as the New York Municipal Airport and is named after the former Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. In more recent years, it has grown to be despised by New Yorkers for its ageing infrastructure, flight delays, cramped terminals, and poor dining and shopping options. LaGuardia has two short runways, and depending on wind conditions, sometimes only one runway is open at a time, causing major air congestion and delayed flights. In 2016, more than 28 million passengers flew in and out of LaGuardia, despite it originally being designed to accommodate only 8 million flyers per year. Last year, 29% of LaGuardia's flights were delayed, placing it last in a ranking of the largest American airports, according to data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. J.D. Power and Associates named it the worst airport in the US because of those delays. And in 2014, Vice President Joe Biden famously likened it to a third world country, a notion repeated by Donald J. Trump during the presidential campaign. On Tuesday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo unveiled the latest designs for the eastern half of the airport development project a year after he broke ground on the renovation for LaGuardia's western terminals. The new airport will have soaring ceilings, lots of natural light, new jetways and pedestrian bridges, much more retail and lounge space. But by 2022, LaGuardia will also get a new air train to connect New York City's subway system and the Long Island Railroad, which has its hub in Penn Station. Below are renderings of the new terminals C and D. They're estimated to cost $4 billion and are paid for by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and Delta Airlines, which is contributing $3.4 million to the project. This is all very well, chaps and ladies, but the problem with this is that it still has 2 short runways, and I don't know if there's no talk of upgrading those, and they're obviously very space limited where that is as well. And of course, it all depends on wind direction and what the other 2 New York airports are doing at the time. So it remains to be seen how they increase the capacity here, because it's all very well having the infrastructure inside, but if the runway system is still as it is, that could be a problem.
But I guess if the reasons why people are naming and shaming it as the worst airport in the States, if they don't do something about the inside, there's no point in talking about extending runways. So perhaps, I suppose, you've got to do one thing before you can maybe even consider doing the other, perhaps.
I think you're right, absolutely. Yeah.
Liz Piper's said in the chat room that she says it's a dump, and she spent a lot of unenjoyable time there.
Okay, right. Okay, so an upgrade won't be...
apparently, according to Brian Coleman, he says it was last updated in 1936.
Yeah, that's probably not strictly true.
Oh dear. Anyway, moving on
yes, indeed.
to the next story, and this one is on the mumbrella.asia website. And, well, this one's a video story, and Matt's already got this all ready to rock and roll, but the headline, has Singapore Airlines just produced the most epic in-flight safety video of all time? So Singapore Airlines aims to take passengers beyond the confines of the cabin on an epic journey across the island state with its new in-flight safety video. The recently released film allows viewers to join Elizabeth Quek, an airline hostess, on a panoramic exploration across various locations in Singapore, including Boat Quay, Haji Lane,
very good,
Capitol Theatre, and the iconic gardens by the bay. Having racked up more than 500,000 views on Facebook, plus 200,000 on YouTube, the video has been used as a marketing ploy by the airline, as well as being an effective way of encouraging flyers to actually watch the safety demonstration video. So Singapore's attempt to create an in-flight video that goes beyond the usual grain follows Qatar Airways' demonstration in 2016, which featured players from Barcelona Football Club. Also, the Australian airline Qantas took the opportunity to turn its safety demonstration into a tourism ad in its 2016 video. Created by the Agency of Record, TBWA, Singapore Airlines video stemmed from an agreement signed between the airline and Singapore Tourism Board aimed at promoting travel to Singapore. Under the partnership, Singapore and STB will jointly invest 10 million, I think it was the Singapore dollars, I think that's how that's it, over 3 years in marketing, event promotion, campaigns and travel technology. The partnership signed in June came at the same time as Goh Choon Phong, the CEO of Singapore International Airlines, announced that the airline would need to cut jobs after suffering a $138 million net loss in its fourth quarter. The airline has also been forced to cut ticket prices due to the challenge of fiercely intense competition, and recently offered its crews unpaid leave. And we covered that story last week, actually, in the show. But we have got the video, haven't we, Matt?
Indeed, yes. Now, I'm not going to play it all because it does sort of go on.
It's quite a long
bit,
video.
But we will...
sorry,
I don't mean it in a horrible way, but it's quite a long one. It's like 5 minutes and 50 seconds long, so we won't play it all. But here's a little taster of what you can look forward to when you fly with Singapore.
Welcome aboard Singapore Airlines. As the safety equipment on this aircraft may differ from that on other aircraft, please give us your attention as we bring you through this important safety briefing and on a journey through Singapore. During takeoff and landing, ensure that your tray table is stowed away. Put the back of your seat upright and keep your shoes on. Before we take off, stow your luggage under the seat in front of you or in the overhead compartments.
So I mean, you get the gist, really. It's absolutely. I mean, it beautifully filmed, beautifully shot. It's absolutely lovely to listen to. But I mean, I haven't even seen an aeroplane yet.
It's one of those. It's one of those countries where me and Gemma always said we'd love to go to, and seeing videos like this, it just kind of hammers that home that it's such looks an amazing country, and
it does. Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's? I mean, obviously, a couple of weeks ago we were covering sort of jokey versions, if you like, of was it BA's latest one where they're talking about they've got lots of A-list celebrities that are all in it. I mean, how does the chat room feel about a video of this nature over some of the jokey ones? We'll play a little bit more of this while we wait to see what the chat room has to say.
Mouth and nose. Pull the lateral straps to tighten it and breathe as usual. Secure your mask first before helping others. It is normal for the bag to not fully inflate. There are several emergency exits in this aircraft. Take a few moments now to locate your nearest exit, which may be behind you. Count the rows of seats to the closest exit in front and behind you. In the unlikely event of an emergency, or when you hear the command, brace, brace, assume the brace position. If you can reach the seat in front of you...
It's safe to say it's an interesting video.
It is.
And there are some interesting comments in the chat room.
Yeah, what have we got?
We've got... Well, it's kind of... Well, Shorty said that the seatbelt's a rope.
Okay, right.
Which is kind of an interesting seatbelt. And we've also got... how long just going down? Shorty Crosgrove said bamboo table.
Right.
Liz Pipers said that this is quite a weird video and think it will confuse a lot of people. Yeah, that's true. Very true. It's too distracting from the safety point of view. Brian Coleman has said as well.
I feel now. Obviously, I'm comparing this directly with the BA one that we featured a couple of weeks ago, and I actually find this far less distracting because it isn't.
You will watch it.
You will watch it, and I'm sitting here watching this. I mean, I've seen this twice already, obviously, when I was editing it and rendering it, and I'm seeing new things. I think it's. I don't find it anywhere near as distracting as the so-called attempts to be funny. I mean,
it's not jokey.
No, I mean, what are your thoughts, Nev?
Well, I think it's better than the BA one in some respects. The only thing I don't understand is what's all this music going on in the background? Do we need that really? Well, it's a safety item. But it's trial and error, isn't it? Because actually doing these things for real, you have to wait for some passenger feedback, don't you? Really, to see what they think about it. So we'll have to see.
So, but based on the short, the little poll in our chat room here, it's a mixed reaction. I think. I don't know. I think it's mainly negative, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Mark Harvey's just said, Matt, on your comment you made earlier, if you've watched this video twice and are still seeing new things, then it's not getting the message across first time.
It's a very good point. Yes. All right. Yes. Well played.
Oh dear.
Okay, you win.
And I think Micah's more focused on the Singapore girl in the video.
Right. Okay. I mean, she's a very stunning young lady. Let's
move on. Let's move on.
Okay.
To the next story. This is yours, Matt. Actually,
is it? Okay, right. So this is on the Hindustan Times, whatever one of those is.
Hindu.
Okay.
Stand time.
I'll probably do it right. So anyway, whichever it is, the HIN.
It's a newspaper from New Delhi, India.
Right. Okay. Close shave at Delhi Airport. Close shave at Delhi Airport as wings of AI Ethiopian Airlines planes collide. Well, that's very comforting, isn't it? It's the Air India aircraft was parked while the Ethiopian Airlines plane was being pushed back by a tractor when the wings of the two planes collided. So an Ethiopian Airlines plane carrying 196 passengers hit a parked Air India aircraft at 2:25 a.m. on Wednesday at Delhi Airport. So it was dark. I suppose you could use that as an excuse. The Ethiopian Airlines plane was parked at bay number 87 and was being pushed back by a tractor when the incident took place. The engines of both the aircraft were shut down. When the engine of the Ethiopian's plane's wings crashed into the wing of the Air India plane. The Air India flight was parked at Bay 86, while the Ethiopian plane ET687 was scheduled to fly to Addis Ababa at 2:20 a.m. Due to the collision of wings, flight ET687 was cancelled and 196 passengers were deboarded. All passengers escaped unhurt. Our Boeing 767 aircraft, bearing registration number Echo Tango Alpha Mike Golf, while preparing for a regular Delhi to Addis Ababa flight, had a minor... that didn't look very minor. A minor ground incident of wingtip collision with Air India A320 aircraft during pushback at Delhi IGI Airport. The necessary repair work is being undertaken on the aircraft as per our safety and maintenance procedures, said the spokesman of the Ethiopian airline. I mean, it's a bit of a mess.
Looking at the picture, Matt will pop the picture up on the screen, but looking at the picture there, it's a... of all the dings I've seen, it's
it's not a minor ding, is it?
Well, it's not a minor ding, but it looks like a reasonably repairable ding.
What is it? They say that'll buff out, won't it?
Yeah, I mean the winglet obviously on.
I think it might need a new winglet.
Yeah, the winglet might need it. Might need a bit of a straightening out.
And I would certainly want to be very thorough about the condition of the flaps on the Ethiopian aeroplane, just to make sure all is hunky dory.
But you know, comparing the size, bear in mind of these two aircraft, you know, the 767 is huge, and the A320 is a lot smaller.
Right.
But it's obviously a ground. It's a case of should have gone to Specsavers. I think for the ground team. I think. Yeah.
Well, there is that.
Any thoughts on that picture there, Mr. Bounds?
Well, of course, this is always the thing, isn't it? There's more likely to be a collision on the ground than in the air, and some of these airports have got fairly tight parking situations, and it's with these winglets and all this, it must be very easy to ding something if you haven't got all your wits about you, or maybe the ground handling crew isn't doing their job properly, or they're distracted. So
or it's dark. There's so many variables.
These things do tend to happen.
We're going to have to ask. We're going to have to try and find someone, or ask Nick or Al or someone in these situations. You know, do you exchange insurance details, or you know, is it a case of who's to blame and
you just pop a little note under the windscreen,
plane rage or something?
Yeah, well, pop a little note on the windscreen.
But it would be interesting to find out though, who's going to kind of how it goes about. You know, do you put a claim in? And
I presume the people that are working on the ground must be insured in some way to do these things, as you say, because you're talking, you know, quite a lot of money.
Perhaps Jennifer would know something about that.
She would, you know, she does stuff with it.
Yeah.
Or I bet she could find out.
She could find out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Nev, the last story is.
Well, it's a very interesting one in the sense that I can't actually get this to load at all, and I think the URL that I've got is not working on 3 of my browsers that I've got up in front of me.
Yeah,
so
and I've got the same problem here.
I've got the top. I've got it in front of me. The top 10.
Right, it's down to Carlos.
Down to me then.
Okay.
You're doing it, mate.
Oh, it looks like it's me. So,
okay, well there we are then. It's well, let's start the music then, shall we? After you then.
He says, trying to find the actual link for it now.
Yeah. So here we are then in at number 10.
He's trying to find the link, but he can't find it yet. We'll get there in just a second.
Okay, all right. So let's be honest. This last story hasn't worked. So I think
here we go. Here we go. I found it now. Right, I've got it now. Yeah. So this particular top 10 is
seamless, children.
Is all
absolutely
about the top 10 airline fails of 2017. So this is the top 10 airline fails.
Yeah. Okay. Just it's only 2 minutes long. The music. You might want to
carry on. So in at
number 10.
So number 10, it is the no leggings, no problem. So in March, a United Airlines gate agent prevented 2 girls from boarding a flight because of their leggings they were wearing. Witnesses said the other girl in grey leggings had to change before being allowed onto the flight. So that was United Airlines there.
Number 9.
At number 9, it's the infamous Dr. Dow removal. So this is April the 9th at O'Hare International Airport. Police forcibly remove passenger David Dow from United Airlines Flight 3411. That was a hideous incident there for United.
It was, yeah. Indeed. Number 8.
Number 8, it is man reportedly masturbates next to a female flyer.
Oh, dear.
This was in July.
There goes the family-friendly rating.
This is on an American Airlines flight, and crew saw the man allegedly doing said act next to a woman while she was sleeping.
Right, okay. Number 7.
And number 7, it's asthmatic flyer booted off flight over a cat. So Donna Weigel had a ticket for a flight from Baltimore to Chicago on March the 4th. The asthmatic customer said she spotted another passenger flying with a cat. She notified the agent and the agent said that she needed to be seated far from the animal, but the cat ended up just a few rows away and she was a bit asthmatic.
Oh dear. Bad news. Number 6.
Number 6, it is airline explores idea of removing seats for cheap tickets. So in June, Colombian airline, Viva Colombia, reportedly explored the idea of removing seats on planes to slash the cost of airfares. Seats wouldn't get removed altogether, though the company's CEO said that if passengers opt out of the standing, they'd have to be able to have a bar stool to sit on instead.
Oh, that's very good of them. Number 5.
At number 5... it is not loading. Here we go. Couple tossed from a plane over seating. A couple in Utah were kicked off a Houston flight heading to Costa Rica in April. The two who were intended to get married there reportedly switched seats without permission, and they were told that they had to move, otherwise they'd get kicked off the flight.
At number 4.
Number 4, plane shoots flames from wing.
Oh, I remember this.
A United airplane in Chicago shoots flames from its wing in early June. Flight 1738 departed O'Hare in Chicago for Miami. Pilot shut down the engine after it was hit by a bird. Twitter videos showed flames bursting from the right engine, and the plane landed back at O'Hare without incident.
At number 3.
Number 3, 3,000 miles in the wrong direction.
What?
In April, a French-speaking United passenger boarded the wrong plane to Paris, and the trip wound up taking her 28 hours. Lucy something or other said the airline failed to notify her of a gate change, and that the
so
announcement
she didn't read the boards in the...
The announcement was
right.
never made in French. A passenger was sat in her seat on the incorrect flight, but an attendant also scanned the boarding pass, and she sat elsewhere, and she flew 3,000 miles in the wrong direction.
And number 2.
Number 2, Simon the Giant Rabbit. In a similar fashion, the giant rabbit died during a United Airlines transit. We're getting a lot of United Airlines here. Flight in April. It came just after the forcible removal of Dr. Deo. The rabbit named Simon was 10 months old and 3 feet long. He was en route to London Heathrow, from London Heathrow to Chicago O'Hare. Chicago O'Hare. Funny for a giant rabbit. There you go. But he was in the cargo hold of a 767. And
finally, top of the pops, it is number 1.
Number 1, it's Lulu, the 5-year-old spaniel. On August the 8th, reports surfaced of a Houston family blaming United Airlines for the improper treatment of its dog, Lulu. The pet, pictured, passed away in the cargo hold after the plane was delayed on the tarmac for 2 hours. The airline, which according to the U.S. Transportation Department is ranked low in pet care, confirmed the death in a statement to KTRK, saying they're deeply saddened by the passing and reached out to help the family.
Well, there we are. So that is where we bring the commercial section to a close. And somehow it feels very appropriate that United has been mentioned quite so
times.
readily in that particular article as what's about to come up next may be relevant, Nev.
Yes. Well, a few weeks ago, I had a very nice chat with our chum, Brian Coleman, from the Airplane Geeks, and we had a good chat about his airline experience. And to be fair to him, we only hear the negative side of things
usually,
very often, but
yes.
he does actually give a fair and balanced view, and where there is praise to be given, he certainly does do so. But let's take a listen to this. Hello everyone, it's Nev here again with another in the series of Nev's Passenger Experience. This week I'm speaking with a gentleman who is not known for being shy with his views on air travel. Brian Coleman has spent his fair share of time in commercial aircraft, and with over 3 million miles on United and 1 million miles on American, plus a few thousands with other carriers, he certainly knows his way around the airlines. He is associate producer and contributor to the Airplane Geeks podcast, and whether it's a regional aircraft or the heavy metal, Brian is quick to share his opinions on flight experiences. Additionally, he has also written several airline-related travel stories documenting these adventures, as well as several airplane reviews. Brian is based on the west coast of the US, but sadly not even the Plain Talking UK podcast budget could get me there, so we did our interview via Skype instead. I began by asking him about the consistency of service that he has been experiencing on his travels.
It's really a mixed bag, in my opinion. United has been in the press a lot recently with not so good press. And it seems like, well, except for this very last experience, it was all with regional carriers and not with United. And although I seem to love to rag on United, these things were actually regional based, and I don't think they were United's issue. The last one with a woman having to carry her 2-year-old child in her lap for the last three and a half hours of her flight, that's a different story. But I still think that the level of service at United varies tremendously. And I've had some really outstanding flights where people have recognized my status and I think have gone above and beyond, either because I'm a great individual or because of the status. And then I've had some fairly stereotypical, less than stellar service. So I still think that there are a bunch of not only flight attendants, but ground staff that want to do the right thing and try really hard. And then there are others that are just kind of apathetic over the whole thing.
Now, obviously, you're based on the west coast of the US. Would you say you would get different levels of service if you're flying to New York and you're flying back from New York, or Florida or something like that? Are you finding that the different parts of the country are giving you different levels of service depending on what you fly with?
On United, the only real change is they have a special service between San Francisco and Newark called their PS service, their premium service. And that is in first class or business first, whatever exactly they're calling it these days. They seem to change the name a lot. You definitely get a different both hard and soft product with that compared to flying anywhere else in the States. But other than that particular route, and I believe they just added San Francisco, Boston to that as well, the level of service is pretty standard. So it's really up to the flight crew that makes the difference. And I've experienced really good service on flights from Los Angeles to San Francisco and Los Angeles to the East Coast. And I've experienced not so great service as well. So it's kind of all over.
Now, you're not a man for holding back, are you? When you point out to some of these people that the standard of service that you've received has been less than optimal, should we say, what's the reaction that you get?
Well, I tend not to do it on the flight itself. So when I experience something bad, and again, it's not only on the flight, because I consider the entire flight experience from booking through check-in at the airport to the actual flight itself. So to me, it's the whole thing. And very rarely will I point out things to the individual at that time. But what I will do is write a letter into the airline. And just because I fly on United so much, they certainly get much more of my writings than other airlines. Part of that might be also my background. I do have a marketing background, and I believe the feedback's important. And I kind of think for every letter that you get, either good or bad, there's at least 10 others that feel the same way or have experienced something similar. So I definitely believe that it's important to provide feedback.
Certainly. And if you were asked, if I said to you, right, Brian, you're going to change your job, you're now going to be cabin brand manager for United or any other airline for that matter, what would be your starting point? How would you improve the problems that they've got at the moment?
I think so many of the problems stem from management taking away the power of the individual to make the right decision. And not only that, there have been so many budget cutbacks or cutbacks due to budgetary reasons that just don't make sense. For example, last week I was on a flight and one of the food choices was a bowl of cereal. Well, no one thought in catering to actually pack spoons. So here you have this wonderful bowl of cereal and no spoon in which to eat it with. And eating cereal with a fork is kind of challenging if you like some milk with your cereal. So the flight attendants were phenomenally apologetic over that. There really wasn't anything that they could do except, and this, I was upgraded on this particular segment. They went back into coach and got the plastic bag of cutlery, and there was a miniature resemblance of a spoon that they gave me. So, yeah, the problem was solved. The flight experience wasn't great, but yet the staff did their absolute best to overcome what I think is really a failure of management.
So you're saying that they're not empowered enough to make those snap decisions on the ground in the real situation?
Yeah, and a lot of it to me, I think, also has to do with pay. They have accepted so many pay cuts over the years, especially starting out as a flight attendant. They're nearly slave wages. And I really believe that affects their attitude. And some of the flight attendants that have been around for a really long time, I mentioned the other day that I was on a flight and it was an ex-Pan Am flight attendant who was serving us, and I really believe that if an emergency situation happened, I would have had to help her. She was so old and in need of a hip replacement. So I think if I were to do anything, it would be to help some of the more senior people find career opportunities elsewhere, and get them into retirement, and really improve the hiring process over attitude and the customer service piece that I think has been missing for so long. Really train the staff on how to provide excellent customer service, and again, empower them to deal with problems themselves when they come up, because I really think that there are a bunch of phenomenally capable individuals that want to do the right thing. It's management that has taken these tools away from them.
Certainly. Now, you've been flying a long time for business, Brian. When would you say you saw the real decline in the passenger service that we've just talked about? How long ago was that?
Certainly 9/11 was a big event here in the U.S. as far as the decline. I can certainly say that one of the best pieces of meat I've ever had in my life was actually on a United flight from Los Angeles to Orlando. And that's when they would serve Chateaubriand, and they would carve it in the aisle. And they would ask how well done you wanted your meat, from rare to well done. And that was truly spectacular. That was truly before 9/11. The rest of the meal was completely forgettable, but the meat, I still say, was one of the best pieces of meat I've ever had in my life. Certainly flying internationally in business class, there's no longer Dom Perignon, there's no longer caviar. These are certainly first world problems that I'm complaining about here or mentioning here, but it's all part of the travel experience, I think. And certainly 9/11, all of those items were put aside. At United, they refer to it as Nutgate, where the previous CEO, Jeff Smizek, wanted to save a few pennies, and instead of having whole nuts served, it was cheaper for them to serve broken nuts. There's a great story, and I can't remember who the CEO of American was, but he did his little math exercise and determined that on the salads, if they were to remove 2 of the olives and only serve 1 olive on the salad, that they would save so many millions of dollars a year. And that's what they did.
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? That once you get to that stage, it really is a race to the bottom, and there's almost no recovery from it unless there is a substantial change in management attitude towards these kinds of things.
Absolutely, and that's where I think United certainly blew it in the United States. Delta started with offering the basic economy program, then American followed, and having only 3 major legacy airlines in the U.S., I think it was a perfect opportunity for United to say, let Spirit, Frontier, Delta and American fight over the leisure traveler, we're going to change the airline to be a truly world-class airline. And, for example, they could have made every row Economy Plus, give the passengers 2-3 extra inches, serve food on the planes, just increase the quality of service. And I think there are enough passengers out there that are willing to pay the difference. And they could have been the Emirates or Qatar of the United States by providing this world-class product and differentiate themselves from the competition, but they didn't. Instead, they chose to implement basic economy and continue that rapid decline to the bottom, which for me, it's really, really frustrating to see that happen to them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that I think a lot of airlines are frightened to offer the premium product at the premium price and make an exclusivity of it. When you try and do too many things, you tend to dilute the general offering. And I think if United had been bold enough to say, right, well, we're not going to compete at the lower level or even in the lower to middle area, we are only going to be at the top end, and that would have given them quite a big differentiator, wouldn't it?
I truly believe that they blew it by not implementing that, and I've offered my suggestion services to them on numerous occasions, and they still refuse to return my phone call. So
interesting. Now, obviously,
I would love to be a business consultant for United.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously United are a major member of the Star Alliance group, and I think they were one of the founding members. Probably as well. Indeed. Yep. I just wonder how the other Star Alliance airlines compared to United, especially on the international routes. Have you had a chance to fly any of those at all?
Yeah, certainly. I've flown on Singapore before, Lufthansa, SAS, all members of the Star Alliance. EVA Air, I did a flight review when I flew to Taipei. I think it's now 2 years ago, and then flew from Taipei to Hong Kong, and I flew on their Hello Kitty 777, and that was quite fun aircraft to fly on. And EVA Air just won. I can't remember who did the top 10 thing, but they just won the best Trans-Pacific airline. So I don't think United would have any issue at all raising their standards and bringing themselves to par with the other members of the Star Alliance.
Do you think many people feel like you, Brian? I mean, as you say, you do go into writing about these things when you have received poor levels of service or you're making suggestions. Do you think the general travelling public, either business or leisure, do people make enough of making a fuss after the event like this, do you think?
No, but something that I want to point out is for as many letters that I write or things that I say that are negative about the airline, I think that I try and really be fair and balanced and write positive things as well. And I will write letters when everything has gone perfectly and let people know that they've done a great job. Do I think other business travelers notice these deficiencies? Yes. Do they take the time to write? No, I don't. On the leisure side, I just don't think that I think the expectations are much lower when it comes to someone that does their family vacation once every 2 years. Yeah. So it's definitely a different market space. And again, I just wish United would let go of the lower end of the market and let the ultra low-cost carriers or low-cost carriers service that clientele and provide a truly outstanding product for the business class passengers, because I think that they will pay for it.
That's right, and I've noticed that there's a lot of 757 aircraft being operated across the Atlantic as well, from the UK to the US. Really quite long haul stuff. And the 757 is a great aircraft. Let's be honest about it. And I've flown on many of them, but normally on just shuttle routes from London to Edinburgh and back. But across the pond in a 757 is a different order of magnitude, isn't it?
The Trans-Pacific for the RJ. Yeah, no, I absolutely believe that the 757 should not be used on that route. United used to do a Newark to Hamburg flight, and in the winter, they had something like 80% of their flights have to divert to pick up extra fuel because of the headwinds. So the aircraft just didn't have the range to service that market. And they finally got smart and they switched over to 767s on that route. But they're having a hard time filling the seats now. And I think part of it's pricing, competition. Part of it's just the public relations that they've gotten over providing an inferior product. If you could pay the same amount and fly on SAS or Lufthansa, why in the world would you book a flight on United?
Well, obviously, you've mentioned already that you like to have a bit of a balance. So where there's reward or where there's a good service, you like to mention it. You like to write letters or I don't know whether you do social media about it. But what are the good points? I mean, if we talk about United as an example, what apart from the frequent flyer status that you have with them and being part of the Star Alliance, are you flying United because it's convenient as well to where you live and the route network that they have?
So I am a member of their lounge called the United Club. So that certainly makes the journey a little bit nicer. So even when I'm not flying in first class, they still have access to the lounge, and that's certainly a nice benefit. The Star Alliance, I think, is a great program. And although it's been more difficult to accumulate miles and more difficult to spend those miles, it's still something that I look at as though I'm getting for free. And next month, I'm going to be traveling to South Africa for the first time in my life, and I'm going to be flying in first class on that route. So, Los Angeles to Frankfurt to Johannesburg to Cape Town and pretty much back the same route. That's a really nice benefit, and it's costing me $350 in taxes or so. So certainly a nice benefit to receive from that. One of the other things that you mentioned at the very beginning, you said where service has been lowered but the price hasn't. I've made the comment many times. I started traveling for business in 1981, and getting a ticket from New Jersey to Los Angeles was approximately $350. I can still do that today.
Okay.
And the fact that prices haven't gone up, yes, the density of aircraft have gone up, but the price has not. That, to me, I think is a dysfunction of the airline industry. And I actually think, I know pretty much everyone's going to disagree with me on this one, but I really think that airlines should raise their prices. And if they raise their prices, they would be able to increase their service, and everyone would win as a result of that.
That's a great roadmap on which to end, Brian, and must thank you very much indeed for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And thank you so much.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
TheVoicesInYourHead.com.
The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself, and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com,
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823 Trent Dane for 23-hour Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Bretman's Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2DME, turn right onto Bravo, link 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora. Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left. Follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime.
Aviation Media
has long been the domain of the newspapers and magazines. Well, not anymore. I'm Steve Vischer.
And I'm Grant McCarran, and we're bringing aviation right into your radio.
Yes, we're making aviation cool and interesting for everyone.
Hang on, aviation's always been cool. Check this out. How cool is this?
Grant, turn that down. Here at Plane Crazy Down Under, we've got pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, industry leaders, even politicians dropping by to talk to us about the amazing world of aviation right here in Australia and occasionally New Zealand as well.
Wow, that's cooler than I thought, mate.
Find us at planecrazydownunder.com, on iTunes, or lurking about on other people's podcasts just like this one.
We've got crazy accents and lots of great aviation content.
And we promise not to talk about the cricket.
No, never. Not the cricket.
Quack, 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 quack.
What is cricket anyhow?
Something we win a lot. Oh, there
Oh!
Up a bit.
Well, I'll tell you what, he just excels himself every week.
He does, absolutely.
Sir Nev.
And of course...
Oh, I just asked the questions. It's the on-air talent that
quite right.
tells the story. And, very interesting stories there from Brian. And, really interesting to see, with all the flying he does, the different sort of experiences that he has.
Yeah,
no, that's well done, Nev.
And surprisingly balanced. I really was genuinely expecting a bit of a slag off fest, if I'm brutally honest. but no, it's alarmingly balanced and covering all manner of airlines.
That's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well done, Brian. Well done, Brian.
Well, thank you, Brian. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. But no, any hints as to what next week's instalment is going to be about, Nev?
Sneaky peek.
Yes, I can probably tell you, actually. I've almost got it up here in front of me. I'm going to just browse to the appropriate part of the server, and let's see who's coming up on next week's show. I've got a sort of 3 or 4 in the bag, as it were. So let's see which one's next.
Not that he's stalling for time,
right? A slight bit of notice about.
It's the Mac. It's got to warm up.
The next one, 18th of August. This is very interesting. This is a lady called Jackie that I used to work with in Sweden, and she is a massive Harpjet fan. And she tells the story about how it has enabled her to travel all over Europe with her family for not very much money. It's not without some criticism, of course, but I think you'll find it quite an interesting story, actually.
I can't wait. Sounds absolutely fascinating. Yeah.
So, as we're going to break with the tradition that we normally miss out each week, so we have got a couple of military news.
Right, okay. Well, I think you and Nev should share these.
Yeah, me and Nev will share
there
these.
We go. Yeah.
So, if we're all ready, we're going to do the military news. So the first news story in the military segment this week is on the Royal Air Force website. Fantastic website, I will say. And the headline is...
How very modest of you.
I know. Yeah. We've got contacts there, you know.
Have you? Right. Anyway, moving on.
So the headline is Royal Air Force Aeromedical Evacuation Team deploys with the A400M Atlas on ex-Mobility Guardian. So the Royal Air Force Aeromedical Evacuation Team has deployed on an exercise with the Airbus A400M Atlas for the first time. The medics from Tactical Medical Wing, or TMW, and 3 Royal Air Force Reserve squadrons are in the US to participate in Mobility Guardian, the largest exercise of its type involving over 50 transport aircraft, air-to-air refueling aircraft, paratroopers, force protection and Aeromed personnel. Flight Lieutenant Scott Fitzgerald, a flight commander on TMW based at RAF Bryce Norton, explained the aim of the exercise, and he said that the focus for the aeromedical part of the exercise is to simulate the evacuation of up to 300 hospital patients in a humanitarian effort from a displaced area in a war-torn environment. We're doing that work closely with the aeromedical teams from other countries, and we're mixing those teams to understand what qualifications, capabilities capabilities and skill sets are required in order to function on various aircraft from other countries, and that combination of doctor and nurses and medical teams. The scale of the exercise has enabled a medical evacuation process which replicates closely what the RAF personnel have experienced previously on coalition operations. The two separate patient preparation areas have been established over 350 miles apart. The Royal Air Force teams fly out to the humanitarian area to evacuate patients originating from a US Army Role 2 hospital. We receive and hand over the casualties and evacuate them back, explained Flight Lieutenant Fitzgerald. We sometimes simulate an intra-theatre transfer, which involves a 40-minute flight, or when we have a C-cast on board, which is the critical care aspect of our aeromedical team. We simulate 3 or 4 hour evacuation as if we were there, for example, returning patients to Birmingham. The UK aeromedical team on the exercise have brought flight nurses who are emergency qualified, including 4 reservists from the different squadrons, and the A400M, which can carry up to 66 stretcher patients, was recently used for the first time on a real aeromed mission for operational reasons. Mobility Guardian is, however, the first time it's been used on exercise in the role. Flight Lieutenant Fitzgerald said all personnel we have brought with us have never flown the A400 previously, so it's new for us. It's a new capability, and we can carry, as we said, 66 stretchers on board the A400, which is our aircraft for the future. So it's good to see some diverse use of the A400M. We see, obviously, we've seen this at the various air shows this year that we've been to, and one of your favourites, I think, Matt, one of the A400M.
No, you're thinking to the A380.
No, the A400M. It was the military one.
No, I didn't like that one.
Do you like that one?
No.
Oh, I thought you liked that one.
No, in fact, it was rudely interrupted. The one that I wasn't enjoying was the A380, which Al was busy talking me through, was rudely interrupted by the A400M. So there we go. Yeah.
No, it's not. Me and Pip had a little sit in the flight deck of the A400 a few years back at Riyadh.
Did one?
It was awesome. This is one of those. One of those, as Captain Al would say, grey aircraft that I quite like. So moving on to the next story.
Indeed.
Nev.
This is from the Lexology.com website, and it says that following a near collision between an F-22 stealth fighter and a civilian drone, also known as an unmanned aircraft system, or UAS, last week a 4-star US Air Force general requested additional authority to combat civilian drone operations threatening USAF facilities and assets. This request highlights the difficulty faced by institutions and businesses wanting to protect critical infrastructure and property whilst not violating federal law. General Mike Holmes of the Air Combat Command told the Air Force Association about 2 incidents in the same day where unauthorized civilian drones entered airspace over USAF facilities and interfered with operations. In one incident, a drone nearly collided with an F-22 Raptor stealth tactical fighter jet, one of the USAF's most advanced aircraft, costing in excess of $150 million. According to General Holmes, the USAF needs new legal authorities to down such drones or other means to protect them from unlawful incursion. He says that the USAF's only current option is such a situation to track down the operator and have their license revoked, although he admitted they're hard to get at. According to statute, it's a federal crime to shoot down, jam, or otherwise disable any aircraft, including UAS. Only the FAA has the authority to enforce regulations related to airspace, although it has made an effort to partner with local and state law enforcement. Recent legislation, the FAA Extension, Safety and Security Act of 2016, required the FAA to establish a process to allow owners and operators of critical infrastructure to apply for a no-drone zone in the proximity of such facilities. The FAA is in the process of developing such a system. However, it does not appear that the facilities receiving such designations will have the authority to disable drones violating the protection. As UAS usage continues to expand throughout the United States, the importance of drone defense will increase. Many companies are concerned about protecting their facilities, trade secrets, and intellectual property from corporate espionage. Individuals are concerned about privacy in their backyards. Airports are concerned about protecting commercial aviation. And the USAF is even concerned about a potential catastrophic collision between a drone and a fighter jet. So Congress may consider including a provision on drone defense to the current legislation to reauthorize the FAA, which must be passed in the coming months. It's interesting, isn't it, that the FAA doesn't seem to have any jurisdiction over the military in this instance.
I'm kind of not surprised. You sort of kind of assume that they're capable of sort of I suppose the military overrules any civil body, I suppose, in the event of quite a lot of things. So I guess partially I'm not surprised.
Yes. It just proves a point, though, doesn't it? We always cover stories about commercial aircraft being affected by UAVs and stuff, but it does prove a point that it's not just commercial air, it's military air. Anything has the potential to be affected by these drones. But I'm yet to fly my one. It's still sitting upstairs.
You have a drone.
The weather has been just
it hasn't been great.
Not very good here in the UK. So I haven't had a chance to fly mine yet. But.
Yeah, so only 2 stories on the old military, but we are going to soften the blow a little bit with that as we bring you our penultimate little interview. Now, this is the de Havilland DC-90.
DH-9.
DH-9. Oh, that was so close to being right.
Yeah, he was nearly right. Yeah, this is
never mind.
This is an interview that I took with a massively interesting chap, and the aircraft in question, I think you've got the pictures on to go with the interview. And this aircraft, I mean, out of all the aircraft at
1930s
at Riyadh,
or something, wasn't it?
At Riyadh this year, this aircraft just stood out for me.
Really?
You got the F-35, you got all these massive military hardware stuff sitting at Riyadh, Herculeses, Galaxies.
But then your favourite aeroplane is a TriStar L1011. Yeah,
I know.
So perhaps your interest is more, vintage, shall we say.
But this really did stand out for me. So it was a great interview, and it's coming up right now. So you join me then again here at the Royal International Air Tattoo at RAF Fairford, and we're back in the media centre here, and we've just managed to grab Guy Black, who's got a rather iconic aircraft here. We talk all the time on the show about these fighter jets, these state-of-the-art fighter jets and state-of-the-art aircraft. But I think one of the most eye-catching aircraft, I think, Guy, is the aircraft that you've got here. And tell us a bit about the aircraft you've got here at the show.
Well, it was made originally in 1918, so it's within a year of being 100 years old. And we found 2 or 3 of these in Rajasthan in India, parked in an elephant stable in a fort. And that was in 2000. And it took a year or 2 to recover them, and the rest of the time we spent restoring it.
So the aircraft, when you found them, what kind of condition were these airframes when you got them?
Well, they were pretty much as left there in 1920. The aircraft were part of the imperial gift to Rajasthan then, because India didn't exist at the time, following World War I, and I suppose the idea was that this Indian state would start their own air force, but they had no pilots, they weren't given any bombs, and they weren't given any instruction on how to fly the aircraft, nor were they armed. So they, being a practical type of people, they took the engines out and used them in an irrigation scheme, and the aircraft were then stored away. Unfortunately, the termites got there just before us, but apart from that, they're amazingly original condition with all their original fabric and so on, but there was a lot of termite damage.
What about the controls? Obviously inside the aircraft itself, it's all steam gauges, you've got none of these fancy computers like we do these days. Were all the parts, all the bits, all the real mechanical parts all there with all the bits you had?
Yes, the metalwork was actually in really good condition, and that wasn't really our problem. The main problem was because the wood was so degraded and no original drawing survived of this aircraft type. it was trying to work out what bits were. So there's a very high replacement of wooden parts, and we had to generate drawings ourselves from the remains of all the aircraft until we got enough information to be able to rebuild the aircrafts. So yes, all the controls were there. Anything made of hardwood was recoverable because termites don't like hardwood. So mahogany, there was the engine bearers, which were made of oak. And obviously the metalwork was in very good order because it had been kept inside since it was new. So it was an archaeological discovery.
So how long from start to finish, Guy, has it taken you to get to the stage you're at now?
I would say it's probably 12 continuous years' work. And we don't normally start restoration work on aircraft until we're 100% confident that we can complete it. And the big problem was lack of engine, because the engines had long since disappeared. And I had to hunt throughout the world for an engine and eventually found one in Canada. And we then discovered that the only other one in existence is in the Science Museum in London.
So you couldn't really go and borrow that one then?
No, we did need that engine because we couldn't start our engine, which was really embarrassing because we're engine people primarily. And so I contacted the Science Museum and said, could I go and dismantle their engine that's on display to examine it? And of course they said, no, you can't dismantle our engine. And I said, well, excuse me, I don't think it's actually yours. I think it belongs to the people of this country. And I'm one of them. So I own 1/60 millionth of that engine, and I would like to exercise my right to examine it for technical research. And they said, well, we've never allowed this before. We'd better go and consult our legal people, which they did. And they came back and said, when would you like to come? So we were allowed, and they were extremely good and helpful, and we found straight away what the fault was, and were able to get the engine running. It runs beautifully now.
So for the benefit of our listeners across the globe, what's the full designation of the aircraft itself?
Well, it's called a DH-9. It was originally designed as a strategic bomber, and this was in answer to the Zeppelin raids over England by the Germans. And when they started bombing civilians and towns, we thought we'd go and do the same. And the idea was to shorten the war. So it was our very first strategic bomber. The de Havilland Aircraft Company designed it, but it was actually made by subcontractors. They never actually made a single example themselves. It's a very good-looking aeroplane, but the Achilles heel of it is the very bad engine in it, and it was a design that was rushed into service. So it's the first aeroplane also that the bombs were contained within the fuselage, and it holds 9 20-pound bombs which are dropped vertically out of the fuselage. That was an absolute first. So it's a pioneer in many, many respects.
What's the aircraft like to fly, Guy?
Well, we haven't flown it yet, so it's going to be rather interesting to know. But most First War aeroplanes are rather like a Tiger Moth. And of course, Tiger Moth is a de Havilland aircraft, much smaller. And we are anticipating it will fly probably just as badly. I mean, just as well. Sorry, that was a Freudian slip.
Who's going to be the person to take that first flight?
Well, we've got a very, very experienced pilot. And he's the chief pilot of the Shuttleworth collection, and he has helped us before on first flights. And you really do need a test pilot. You need someone who can understand what to do if it doesn't work out quite as normal as you expect it to. But we are not anticipating any problems in flying it.
When are you hoping that date to be? Is it going to be soon?
It'll be in 2 or 3 months at maximum. It is completely finished, the aircraft. It came here by road because we haven't yet completed the work for the CAA side of things, and that's very nearly finished. So probably, I'd say a couple of months maybe. Depends what problems we get.
So for listeners who are listening in the UK who can get to where the aircraft is based, is there going to be like a kind of event or anything held for the aircraft when it gets flying?
Yes, we are. We're going to plan basically a public first flight. It will be after the private first flight because we like to do that at the crack of dawn when there's no one around. and one of the reasons is not just because in case something goes wrong, but because the pilot will only fly when the situation, the weather, weather conditions, everything else, he feels absolutely right about it. We don't want him to put under any pressure with having media or the public around. And then we'll have a private first flight. So it's going to be based at the Imperial War Museum at Duxford.
So we go. So for anyone who listening, is there somewhere they can sort of find out more details about the aircraft and when it's going to fly?
Well, we have a website, Historic Aircraft Collection, and we operate other aeroplanes from Duxford. We have a Spitfire and a Hurricane and a few other things. So the best thing is to follow our website. I believe there's something called Facebook, which I have no idea how to even access, but there's something on there about it.
We'll put the notes alongside the this particular interview so people can find out more about that. But a bit about yourself, Guy. How did the aviation kind of bug take you? Was it an early age?
Well, my father was in the RAF during the war. He wanted to fly Spitfires really badly, but they put him on bombers. So he did a little bit of that, and by the time the war finished, he managed to get onto Beaufighters. So he had his fighter, but it wasn't the Spitfire. But after the war, he took me to air shows and things. He said, that's the aeroplane I really wanted to fly, looking at Spitfires. And I thought one day I'd really like to have a Spitfire and show him. You know, if he can't fly it, at least his son could. And that's how it really started. And I'm an engineer by training, and so an engine designer, and I did an apprenticeship and so on in engineering. So engineering is a sort of what drives me as well, is to try and get back to flight old aeroplanes or old cars or whatever it is. It's just, as long as it's got an engine in front of it and it's driven by petrol and not paraffin. I don't understand how a jet works. It's just a bit too modern for me.
So plans for the future, guys? Is there any sort of big other projects you've got in, or is this, this is the sort of final project?
Well, we've been doing this for nearly 30 years now. We've got about another 8 or 9 aeroplanes in the queue, but I'm not going to be looking for any more to do, because I've worked out I've got to be 150 by the time they're going to be finished. So we've got a few quite exciting aeroplanes. We really like difficult challenges, and so most...
Is there any you can tell us, or are they all sort of secret?
Well, there's nothing terribly secret. The next aeroplane is a Fiesler Storch, which we have had in flying condition, but we're now turning back into a German specification aircraft. We've also got another German aeroplane we were doing, which is a Messerschmitt 109E, and so that's probably the next exciting aeroplane. But we have another 2 Hawker biplanes to do and a Yak 1, so there's plenty to do.
So in other words, you're going to be busy for a little while longer then?
Yes, certainly a few more weeks of this, yes.
Well, I tell you, it is an amazing aircraft to see. We're going to take some more photos of the aircraft and that to put on with the show notes and everything for this episode. But on behalf of Plane Talking UK, Guy, it's been fantastic to talk to you today. And one last question before we let you go, and it's a question we always ask all our interviewees on the show. And it's, if you were given the chance to fly any aircraft, either flying or retired, commercial, military, GA, what would that aircraft of choice be?
I would like to fly some kind of modern jet fighter. People tell me they're amazing. I don't understand how they work, and I don't want to know, but I would love to be able to fly one day.
Well, I hope you get that chance soon, Guy. And thank you very much for your time this afternoon at the show. Thank you.
Great pleasure.
He was such a nice chap to talk to, I will say.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. I mean,
indeed.
that aircraft was stunning to see, honestly.
Yeah.
The pictures don't do it justice.
Well, it looks stunning even on a very grey day, because it's fair to say you didn't have the best weather when you were in the Adriatic.
No, the weather was fairly
appalling, yes.
that day. Yeah. The link Matt's going to put in the show notes for the episode anyway, but for the benefit of you listening, if you want to tap it into your smart device now, it's it's historicairaircraftcollection.ltd.uk. That's historicairaircraftcollection.ltd.uk. And they've got the site there with all the information on the aircraft, including the DH9 that we've just heard from on that interview.
Very nice, very nice. Have you seen this de Havilland before, Nev?
No, I haven't actually. Wasn't that a great interview, Carlos? What an interesting chap he is, and that was a really good job actually. It sounds like a very enthusiastic person as well, and this is what you find with the people that restore aircraft.
I think you've got to be, haven't you? Because it has to be literally a labour of love, doesn't it? Because there's no way you can just knock it up in an afternoon.
I mean, the guy found them in a desert, in a barn, in bits, and to get it to look.
Especially when the aircraft is so old, though. I mean, it's just like literally, like, where do you even begin with a project like that to actually start rebuilding this?
Because you can't exactly go down the part shop.
No, you can't, and it's so you're probably having to hand make a lot of these bits, and it's just drawings. Even drawings may not be available, like, so that it's very difficult to piece together what you've got in front of you, to sort of make it fly. You've almost got to reverse engineer it to get all the information that you need.
Good morning to Tim Hitchcock, who's joined us at 5:43 in the morning from Australia.
Wow, that's a very silly time of the day.
That's very
Although
early.
Glen Towler is, I think, because he's in New Zealand. Glenn is. He's joined us as well.
Yeah.
So,
and on that note,
we have a couple of bits of audio feedback, which we're very excited. Stop messing about, Carlos. We've got a couple of bits of audio feedback to play you, so we're going to play those for you. We've got the first one is from the lovely Jenny in Rome, and then we've got the legend that is Glen Towler.
Hi there, this is Jenny in Rome. I said I might send you a very short piece of feedback, and it's a piece of feedback about Alitalia, which, as you know, is under extraordinary administration at the moment, waiting to see if the company is going to survive or not. Well, today the Italian Civil Aviation Authority has actually renewed their flight license, and according to the Medi Telegraph, that's the Mediterranean Telegraph, an online shipping and international transport newspaper, they say it's a sigh of relief for Alitalia, because it means that actually things are going much better than had been hoped for. So in the meantime, other companies are expressing interest in coming on board and buying out all or part of Alitalia, and they've got about a month left, the various companies, to request access to the data room. Presumably that's where they get all the information, can look at all the books, and then they have to make binding offers in early October. However, they said that in actual fact, according to the cash data on the company, it hasn't actually had to use the 600 million euros it was loaned by the government, and has more money in the bank actually, since it's filling its airplanes at the moment, so that's good news. And so we're just all waiting to see. It says that there are more tickets now being purchased in advance for flights, and the revenue situation in July was up 3%. And they're trying to control their costs through a wage guarantee fund, and about 20 managers have been persuaded to leave. And they've managed to renegotiate. They had hedging contracts for fuel and leasing. I think they'd agreed to pay a certain sum for fuel over the next few years, which was way above the actual cost if you just bought it from the pump today. So they've managed to renegotiate that. So they're obviously seriously trying to get things under control. I know that Ryanair is one of the bidders, and they're very keen, and that could be interesting. So we just have to wait and see. Well, anyway, that's all really, and again, congratulations for a show that just gets better and better and better. Bye for now.
Just want to say happy birthday, Carlos. It's Glenn here from New Zealand with some feedback about Oshkosh. What a great year, fantastic year. I've been there going to 6 years in a row now, and this year was by far the best year I've ever been there. It was just such a great community here on the APG/Plane Talking UK/Airline Airplane Geeks. Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, really, really good. But I also the air show was really good too. I mean, there were lots and lots of so many good, interesting looking aircraft this year. Some real old vintage stuff, a lot of military stuff. But it really was. But yeah, the military side was just quite amazing this year. I think the US Air Force are really trying to recruit more people to join the Air Force. So it's a bit short of pilots and all trades, I'm sure. But anyway, I just wanted to say, say that about Oshkosh, and hope you guys actually make it to Oshkosh one year, maybe next year. It was also great to see Steve Vischer too from Plane Crazy Down Under. I see you. No, anyway, just wanted to say a big hello to all the people that I met. I know a lot of people who listen to APG also listen to Plane Talking UK. So anyway, Glen out.
Carlos's 41st birthday greeting in 3, 2, 1. As I've mentioned before, there are many people in my life who were born during the first 2 weeks of August. Close friends, important acquaintances, but growing up, the most significant was my Grandpa Max and my favorite cousin, Mitchell. Those family birthdays were always fun with my grandfather, my dad's dad, from one side of the family, and my cousin, my mother's sister's son, from the other side. We would all get together and have a cookout or some kind of party and cake. The whole family, both sides, would be there, and all would have a great time. I must say I was very lucky growing up, as both my mother's and father's family got along and became good friends, so those birthday parties were indeed very special. Well, Grandpa Max passed away in 1971, and Mitchell went off to Vietnam shortly thereafter. He came back a changed man, and we weren't in touch very often until much later in our lives. These days, while distanced geographically by some 1,500 miles of the east coast of the USA, him being in South Florida and me in southern Maine, we still talk more or less weekly. In fact, we even had another mutual birthday party a few years back when he turned 60 and I turned 55. That was also the last time the three sisters, my mom Harriet, his mom, my Aunt Martha, and their younger sister, my Aunt Jerry, were able to visit together before Aunt Martha passed. It was a lot of fun. Remind me to tell you what we learned from Aunt Jerry at that party. A fun secret she'd been keeping for close to 60 years. What a hoot! Well, many people say you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Technically that may be true, but I found that some of my favorite family members are family I've chosen, or maybe chose me. Although I think my genetic brothers may be surprised, over the past year I found I have a new nephew who's now 41 years old. And not just any kind of nephew, but the best kind, the chosen kind. And the best part? Well, we chose each other. There are a lot of wonderful things I can say about my new nephew. But one of the magical things is now I have another family member to celebrate a birthday with. We're less than a week apart. So my new nephew Carlos, happy birthday. Wings over Pittsburgh 2017 seems like ages ago, and Farnborough 2018 seems like ages to come. But I look forward to seeing you again, my chosen nephew. Maybe one year we'll figure out a way to celebrate our birthdays together, both at the same time and in the same place. So from here in Portland, Maine, all the best to you, my family and friend. Happy birthday, nephew Carlos, and many, many more. From your Maine man, Uncle Micah.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise. Thank you, Matt.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't expecting that. No, thank you, Micah. Yeah, as always.
Yes, and well done for bashing on with a very bad cold there. I mean, it's
he did sound a bit cold.
Did very well there. Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody said, was it slow? Being played a bit slow. No, bless him. He had a very bad cold when he did that. So thank you very much, Micah.
That was really nice, Micah.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to listen back to that again.
You are, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Now that the shock has settled down, yes, absolutely.
Bloody Mike, he always makes me
Yeah.
It's a tear to my eye.
Anyway,
Bugger.
back to the job at hand, I'm afraid to say. And as we wrap things up, just to say, don't forget, we're doing a live show next week on Sunday. So we're doing a live show from Sunday, but it's a very special one because we're going to be broadcasting again live, this time from the Seething Air Show. So we're going to be at the Seething Air Show. Yes, Sunday the 20th. Yeah, it's if you add, indeed, it's Sunday the 20th. That is the right day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sunday the 20th. Yeah. I'm all a fluster here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Seething Air Day is on the 20th of August. I'm not sure what time the doors open. Do we know what time the gates open? But it's £15 for adults to get in, and people 16 and under is, it says under 16. Sorry, I better get that right. Under 16s is free. And take yourself to www.seething-airfield. So Seething, SEETHING airfield.co.uk/Air Day 2017, and then that will bring up their actual page. But so it's we're there next year.
Be nice to see some listeners there. If there is anyone who is in this neck of the woods, I know we are in the B end of nowhere here in the UK.
Indeed.
But
it
great
is
to
a
see.
lovely air show. There's some great stuff that's been booked already. We've got the Wildcats. They're going to be there. We've got a Yak 52 turning up a Yak 3, Navion. We've got a Fennec, Long EZ. We've got the Cub landing on a trailer. That was pretty amazing.
We saw that, didn't we?
That was absolutely Otto the helicopter, which is a very adorable little helicopter. We've got a Fournier. We've got a Gyro air display. We've got Captain Neville's flying circus. That sounds fascinating. Looking forward to seeing that. And then we've got an ME 108 that is also.
Did you say along. Captain Neville's flying?
Okay, it says Captain Neville's flying circus.
Did you? You've kept that one quiet.
I know you're coming, Nev, but indeed. So yes,
actually, looking ahead to next Sunday's weather.
Oh no! Why?
I'm not saying anything.
No,
I'm not saying anything. It's there. Look there.
Oh dear. Right. Okay.
Anyway,
pretend that's it. No, it's going to be lovely.
It's going to be incredibly hot next
sunny,
Sunday.
It's going to be a typical British summer's day by the sound of it. So bring your umbrella. But on a brighter note, the good news is that the entire team will be there. So
Nev is travelling down.
Yep.
And he's going to be staying here at PTUK Towers with us next week.
Indeed, and staying in boring old Southend Road Towers, in my case, is the guy who's been doing all the editing for me while I've got no ability to do so, and that is Owen will hopefully be there as well, awesome. Schedules permitting.
And also, actually, hopefully we should have a cameraman next Sunday at Seething as well.
Very exciting.
Yeah, a certain listener, Mr. Carl Lake, from Norwich International Airport.
Absolutely.
He's going to come and be our cameraman for the day, which will be good.
Going to be good, yeah.
So that is where we are going to bring episode 177 to a close. How are you, Nev? Are you holding in there?
Yes, it's been a bit of a long week this week, and I've been spending most of it up in Staffordshire, and I should be there most of next week as well with the well-known excavator manufacturer.
Right. Yes, okay. Whose vehicles vaguely resemble yours in colour. Yeah, indeed. So that's good. Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do by the usual means. Take yourself to www.planetalkinguk.com. You can find a fascinating page like what I'm putting up on the YouTube feed here, where you can meet the team. And look, down the bottom there, there's Nev. There is the legend that is Nev, nestling nicely underneath Pilot Pip. Well, what a place to be, eh?
Not something which I'd ever thought I'd ever hear someone say.
Indeed, absolutely. And also, it's twitter.com. Our handle there is @PlaneTalkingUK. It's facebook.com/PlaneTalkingUK. Those are our social media feeds. And just like our two lovely listeners who emailed some details into us earlier, to get audio feedback into the show, or just written stuff, it is podcast@planetalkinguk.com. And we've got some great feedback actually from Miriana, which unfortunately I'm still waiting to have permission from Pip to play as per the email. So we did get your email, Miriana. I'm just waiting for clearance before we can do what you mentioned in the email. So leave that with us. We have to ask permission. Even though it's Pip, we still have to ask permission. So yes, as soon as I've got clearance, then we will
clearance.
Yeah, indeed. We will do what's sort of suggested. But But that is where we bring today's show to a close.
And a big thanks to everyone who's wished me a happy birthday for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, I will be 21 again.
21 plus VAT.
Plus VAT. Yeah. And it's very nice indeed for the feedback we've had. But no, that is where we are going to bring the show to a close. A massive thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat room. Loads and loads of people in the chat room tonight. Thanks again to all you guys for joining us. And there's been some quite interesting chats going on in the chat room tonight.
Yeah. Not all about food for a change.
Food.
Yeah, which is
there
great,
has been none about
There was a
food.
brief mention of olives earlier on,
right,
but
well,
that's
not really a food.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That's not really a
food. Olives are a proper food.
Oh, okay.
Just because you're a heathen. Anyway, good news, Nev. It's Chan time this time next week, so all good. Yeah.
All good, yes. Looking forward to that.
Jenny's just made it into the chat room. Look, Jennifer Parkinson's just made it in at 10 minutes before the end.
And she's missed her audio feedback. She's probably done that.
You missed
on
your
purpose.
feedback, Jenny.
Anyway, that's it, guys. We will see you on Sunday, so it's a different time.
Next Sunday.
I don't know what
Sunday.
time when are we going to do this? Because the flying starts at 1-ish, I think, doesn't it? If memory serves.
We'll be
1,
live sort of in after 10.
So watch
but
social
not
media.
Technically, the show live.
Yes, absolutely. We will be live from 10 doing our show, and then the air show will sort of start. No, we'll be live from 10. Thank you very much.
Satellite and everything.
Yeah, I could say I'm going to have like literally the 18 because I've got the legend that is Nev on site. I mean, there's no way that it won't be ready for 10 a.m. What between him and Owen, we'll have it nailed.
Let's not jump too far.
No, okay, all right. So yes, join us if you can next Sunday. That's Sunday the 20th for our live show, where we're aiming, I think, to start at 10 a.m. for our actual show, and then after our show is finished, we will then be following the air show as normal. But if you can make it, please do. It'd be great to see you. Come and see us on our stand. We're right near the broadcast tower where they do the commentary and stuff. Yeah. So if you can, please come and see us at Seething Air Show.
Even if it costs you £5 million to get a flight here. Fly here and see us.
No. Anyway, that's it, guys. Take care. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.